Jordan Neely was 30 years old when he met his untimely death. See, a lot of people don't know about the background of Jordan Neely and his family, as BLM is threatening and calling riots and violence in the streets. But it's important to know how this young man got to this point in his life in the first place.
They grew up together as foster brothers. To Larry Smith, Jordan Neely was his big brother, best friend, and mentor.
He would always tell me things that he would rather be alone than unhappy.
Smith says the two were products of a broken foster care system. They first met after they were both placed in a foster care home in the Marcy houses years ago. Smith describes tough times and being moved from home to home over 4 years.
4 years of betrayal, rejection, 4 years of nervousness, 4 years of abandonment, 4 years of pain.
Eventually, they both aged out of the foster care system. Smith and Neely both ended up homeless, living on the streets of the city. This is one way Neely would get money for food, impersonating Michael Jackson on the trains. Smith was right there.
He would do the Billie Jean, and I would sit there and I'd have the hat that he gave me for Michael Jackson and collect a couple of dollars. He used that because foster parents were abusing us.
Smith says Neely tried to get help from the city, but fell through the cracks.
There's no reason why Jordan was on the Section 8 list for so long and never got picked. There's no reason why foster care youth have been on the list for over a decade. I have not even got picked.
At a young age of 14 years old, Jordan Neely witnessed his mother being murdered by her abusive boyfriend and then being disposed of in a suitcase. He then entered the foster care system at the age of 14 years old after testifying against his mother's boyfriend on trial. So he witnessed all of the violence that happened against his mother. He remained in the foster care system until the age of 21 when he was discharged. With nowhere to go, he found himself being homeless on the streets. He was a drug addict as well, and he also had mental issues. He was involved in many criminal activity. He had been arrested over 42 times over petty crimes and also crimes of violence, such as assaults. And on May 1st, 2023, Jordan Neely stepped onto the subway, broken, homeless, just giving up on life, in such despair, filled with wrath. He was ready to attack, and it was Danielpenny that subdued him from attacking and preventing any further harm or threats towards the passengers that was on the subway. Now, Danielpenny also put his life in danger because it could have went either way. But he was able to stronghold him, subdue him into a chokehold until the train came to a stop for cops to arrive. And that is when they found him no longer alive. So while it is a very tragic story, Danielpenny did save many lives that day, no matter how you want to look at it, because the man stepped on the train where his heart was filled with wrath. And that's what I want to talk about today, because there's a lesson in every single story. And a lesson in this story is a fatherless love and abandonment.
I just want to say, I miss my son. My son didn't have to go through this. I didn't have to go through this either. It hurts. Really, really hurts. What are we going to do, people? What's going to happen to us now? I had enough of this. The system is rigged. Come on, people.
Ephesians chapter 6 verse 4 states, "And ye fathers, do not provoke your children unto wrath, but bring them up with nurture and admonition to the Lord." Jordan Neely's father should not be rewarded, not one red cent. BLM, how can you allow an dismissive, avoidant father who was absent from his son's life to capitalize now on his son's death. His tears means nothing, but only for a payday. BLM, the public is no longer ignorant to your devices and how you work hand in hand with the Democratic Party to grift off the emotions and pain of people, running this grifting and hustling game and always want to find racism and white supremacy in everything. Now, in my opinion, I do have questions why all of a sudden y'all appeared out of nowhere right now, because you've been silent for all of the 4 years since Biden and Kamala Harris has been in office. But now that Trump has won the election, now all of a sudden y'all appearing back on the scene. Now, is this due, in my opinion, I'm just asking, to the massive debt that Kamala Harris has in her campaign? So y'all are out there to collect money off of the emotions of people? Is that what's going on here? I'm just asking.
Asking you a question. Do you blame Jordan Neely at all for his conduct?
If Jordan Neely was a white man, we'd be saying it was an opioid crisis. He was hungry. He was mentally ill. He had a muffin in his pocket.
I wouldn't be if there were other. What about the witnesses? Let's play again, just so we're clear on the race.
Play Eddie Gibson, who begged Daniel Neely to stop.
Oh, again, but he stayed there throughout the incident.
Play the ones that fit the narrative.
But what's the narrative? There's black women who were on the subway. It was mostly people of color on the subway.
What about a white man during cross-examination who said that he was afraid of Daniel Penny, the one who poured water onto his head and said that he was afraid? He was a white man.
Yeah, okay, so...
What about the Latino man who was holding his arms?
I'm not the one identifying everyone by race. You are. You're the one who keeps telling... Why? Why do you have to? There was nothing in this case.
Because when you look at the FBI, when you look at when hate crimes happen, when you look at when injustice happened to black people,
but let's agree.
Don't get justice.
Let's agree to some... Look, I'm going to be doing a segment later this week on a missing black woman who has not been getting nearly enough attention.
Send it to me and I'll share the post.
No, by the media.
Absolutely.
Because I understand that, and to that degree, you have a fair point about the way sometimes the media and the justice system handles. But not this case. This case, even the prosecutors conceded Daniel Penny had every right to go hands-on, and the question became, okay, when should he have stopped? I understand that.
The time frame on that
right.
from the DA's office was after 30 seconds. Can you not concede that Daniel Penny was a trained killer, that he not have his gray belt? United States Marine Corps is an assassin?
Sure,
he knew.
Every Marine is a trained
because
assassin.
Actually, black Marines and white Marines have reached out and actually told us he went too far.
But going too far is different from criminal.
Let me break it down. A chokehold, a blood chokehold, which he did. You're only supposed to hold someone in that move for 8 to 13 seconds. You're not supposed to do it longer than 2 minutes. Why did Daniel Penny, when the train was completely clear, everyone was on the platform, why did he hold it for nearly 6 minutes?
Because he was scared.
He was a Marine is scared of of someone he labeled as a crackhead.
Again, is it not possible that Daniel Penny, when he's doing this on the spot, stepping up to help people of many different races, moves in and doesn't have a clock with him to decide when he should stop and when he shouldn't, which is why, in the end, the jury acquitted, right?
No, actually, Daniel Penny was trained very well by the United States Marine Corps, and he knew what the signs were. He knew when Jordan's body was slacking. He knew that Jordan was going to die. Why didn't you show his face, Dan? You're a good man. Of when he laughed and when the first response, I'm critical of the police. We know this, right? NYPD tried to save his life while they were doing chest compressions. Daniel Penny laughed and said chest compressions. A good person, a hero. One last thing. Why did he never ask about the well-being in that police department about Jordan Neely?
So
you're asking
a lot of questions that are sort of rhetorical questions, right? But the ultimate question is, why did the jury acquit? Is it because they're racist?
America is inherently biased.
So the jury is racist.
Have you seen?
I'm asking you a question. No, don't change the subject. Is it because the jury is racist?
Yes.
Okay.
The jurors.
Even the black person on the jury.
Would you like to hear something from me? I believe that even black people can be anti-black. People are predeceived to see black people as a threat and as a victim because people called in. You heard the voice recordings when they called 911. Jordan Neely was in a chokehold for over 4 minutes, turning purple, which black people do in fact do that, and people still saw him as a harm. Even when his body went limp, he was still viewed as a criminal. So I'm sorry if I'm going to defend the needy, if I'm going to defend the poor. Why does no one talk about when Jordan Neely came on asking for water and being thirsty? Why does no one talk
about... Because that's not what happened right here. What happened right here, the reason he was held was not because he was asking for water. It's because he was scaring the heck out of everyone on the subway, which apparently he's done before.
Dan, anyone who has rode the New York City subway has encountered mentally ill people. Why are we not having this conversation? And we don't kill them.
But you know what?
Offer help or we get out of the way.
But more
No
people
one
wish
kills
people
them.
would step up more and help and stop people from
So
doing
are you
it.
giving a license to vigilantism? Are you saying that we should
not
kill
vigilante.
people? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying is, you know what I'm saying is it's very unfortunate. I think Daniel Penny would say it is really unfortunate that he died.
Why didn't he care when he was at the precinct? He showed no remorse.
Because he was defending what he did.
He lied in that defense too. Do you know he told people, he told the police,
Yeah, I know.
who people love, that people respect the police's opinion, right? People respect what they do. People respect that honor. He lied in the 5th precinct. How can anything he do? Can we just stop calling him a hero? Can we do that?
No, I can't. I actually do view what he did as heroic.
If you don't care about the fatherless homes in Black America today, if you don't care about the Black boys that are unaliving other Black boys in the streets of America today, if you don't care about the criminality that these young men are falling into and falling victim for into their own communities, but only want to capitalize off of their death if their counterpart is white, no one, nowhere will ever take you serious for anything that you spew out of this scam organization. Your credibility is no longer any good. So we're not tearing down cities and burning down buildings for a man whose own father abandoned him and left him to fend for himself in the streets, in which he was subdued by his own wrath because he was left alone in this world, and his family, including his father, abandoned him for years. So the real supremacist is Jordan Neely's father, Andre Zachary, for his mere absence from his son's life. And he should suffer the regret and he should suffer the pain in his loneliness instead of being rewarded a massive payday for a son he was never there for. And that is the lesson in the story.